I'm joined by Tuhin Sinha, National Spokesperson of the BJP. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, former GOC in Chief Western Command, is also with us. Sushant Sareen, Senior Fellow ORF, also with us. Lieutenant General, why don't I begin with you? You know, it does pain every Indian's heart when you see casualties of this kind and the casualties of the ranks that you're seeing, you know, losing a colonel and a major. It is truly heartbreaking that something like this has transpired. Not taking away from the bravery of the Indian Army, but do you see that the last few encounters that have broken out, especially as we've been talking about in the Pir Panjal range or both sides of the Pir Panjal range, are indeed a matter of concern for India?
Shivani, Jai Hind. I join you all in saluting our brave hearts, Colonel Manpreet, Major Ashish, Deputy SP Humayun Bhat, and I am hopeful that missing soldier would be located, injured one will get all right, and also 19 Rashtriya Rifles will achieve its objective. I am very hopeful of that. Now, there is a transition which is taking place in the way terrorists are carrying out these operations. There are changes. There is choice of areas has changed. We saw in certain encounters near Rajouri areas which had not been utilized, like Dhangri and other such areas, have been brought into focus. And that happens because when you put pressure and you push them against the wall, they have to go to some new areas and create new challenges for security. So that is precisely what is happening. What has happened in Kokernag is little premature to analyze because operation is still going on.
Fair enough.
So it will not be fair for us to start analyzing it in detail. But knowing the history of this unit, they had eliminated Burhan Wani. They are Anantnag Tigers. They have a record which is very, very enviable. So we will analyze in the sense intelligence. Was it not very correct? Had the hideout got changed? Was intelligence a little old? So all those factors will get analyzed. Don't worry. There is army always have to learn because for us it's life and death.
Fair, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, we have to face the next encounter. And so to that extent, we are dynamic, we are resilient, and allow me to tell you, it's not always you have to do different things. You have to do same things differently. You have to tweak them. Because after all, like what Jan Dhillon was also trying to say, search and destroy will take place. Intelligence-based operations will take place. Tweaking of these, more checks, refinement of standard operating procedures. That's all which is underway. And I'm sure with 15 Corps and the GOC and everybody being there, and let's not get in counterinsurgency operations, you do suffer setbacks. You can't always have free run of success. You will, even after so many years in Northeast, we still have encounters, we still have incidents, and suddenly we are saying, oh, what's happened?
Okay.
So that'll happen. And
okay, fair enough. Sir, hold your thought. I'm going to just go around the panel as well and then I'll come back to you. Also joining me is Major General Sanjay Meston. Sir, thanks a lot for your time. I want to begin by asking you the same question. Some concerns have been raised, some obviously concerns have been voiced because of the casualties and the kind of casualties we have suffered in this encounter. Do you think that there is anything to worry about, or is this, as our other panelists said, as Lieutenant General Dhillon said, it was just not our day?
Shivani, good evening. Firstly, yes, people have got choices to raise their concerns. But as soldiers, having operated in these areas for 10 years and in Afghanistan, let me be very candid. See, firstly, the intent of the operations is very clear. It is to seek and destroy. If that be the intent, what is the existing ground reality? The existing ground reality is that the people of Kashmir are not supporting the terrorists. And even if they have to support, it is through gunpoint and through various other methodologies. So if they are not getting any support, obviously for them, the only choice is to hide and take a hideout in the jungles. And we are aware that the terrain is very, very thickly wooded. It is extremely dense. And now, what is the role of the army? Army's obvious role is we seek intelligence. And this has been a very, very good intelligence network where, if you see, there was jointness between the police and between the Indian army. That is a great effort. So timely intelligence was there, and therefore these officers or this unit, along with the police, was tasked that there is a certain element of some terrorist in the so and so area, and you need to clear them. Now we come to the clearing drills. The clearing drills are very clear that even if there is, let's assume there is a source who's guiding them, so they generally first do the cordon of the area and they start moving some 3-4 different small teams so to make contact. While they are moving for contact, the advantage is obviously to the terrorists because they are on the dominating features. Now from a lower ground it is extremely difficult to observe, so they obviously have been following the proper tactics of fire and move, which I would put it bluntly, it is one leg on ground. That means mutual support. And generally the Indian army, all officers, we take pride in leading from the front. It is a fact of life. Right from the National Defence Academy, we lead from the front. And therefore the officers have led from the front and they were trying to seek contact. Now it is exactly what General Cages highlighted. It was not a day. Sometimes, in these kind of encounters, he had the upper hand. The terrain is well known to him. Mind you, this Ahmed character, Uzair Ahmed, he's from that area. He knows the terrain well. So he has planned his hideout very, very well. And therefore, they have also got the basic tactics of fire and move and supporting each other. So they have exploited this. Better observation, better domination, coordinated fire. And therefore, they decided to strike. Our people would have been exposed at some time. So it is now very easy to do a postmortem and say this went wrong and that went wrong. I will support these officers. They have led from the front. They have led them boldly. We should also appreciate that both of them were Sena Medal awardees, and even the DSP who led, his father was the DGP. So I think it is a very, very great effort. So people should not criticize. Some panelists in some other channels also were criticizing, and you can do anything. But let us appreciate the efforts they have put. They have sacrificed their life for the nation. Yes, the terrorists will be eliminated. So I would say nothing has gone wrong. It was just not a day. Sometimes the things happen that he had the advantage. So I would put
what you're describing, as all of our military experts describe, the operation of seek and destroy in itself can only be done by brave people. You're actually literally seeking danger and death. So in that sense, I don't think words will fall short of how many, how much we say about the bravery of these men who have led these units and have led it from the front and have laid down their lives. Sushant Sareen and Tuhin Sinha, I want to bring you in as well. Tuhin Sinha, first to you. Politically speaking, this does hit the narrative, quote unquote, of the government that everything is hunky-dory in Jammu and Kashmir. Don't you think the message that has gone out is actually quite the contrary to what you've been projecting over the last 2 to 3 years?
Well, good evening, Shivani. Good evening, everybody. Well, there is no doubt that every terror attack or every attack of this kind takes us back by several months. But having said that, like General Dhillon himself was mentioning, it was just a bad day. There is nothing to be particularly alarmed because the situation has been handled particularly well in the last 3 years. And I think the figures speak for itself. What we are witnessing right now are the sediments of decades of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism enabled with local support. Now the problem is the local support is not there. So these people, the limited terrorists, and there must be less than 100 of them. A few years ago, there were more than 5,000. Now there would be less than 100 of them. They are completely frustrated. They are devising new means. Like you mentioned, guerrilla warfare is one of the means. Hybrid terror is one of the other means. But all of this will be thwarted. Pakistan, this can't be seen in isolation. In the last 3 or 4 years, Pakistan has suffered several blows internationally, and India's increased involvement with Saudi Arabia has further isolated Pakistan. So yes, they
actually
are
in their isolation. Tuhin, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you. In their isolation and in their desperation, they become greater dangers. Pakistan and Pakistan-backed terror groups.
I am assuring you, we are completely abreast of the situation. We are completely cognizant of that danger, and we are fully prepared to handle it. These standalone terror attacks, like I mentioned, while they take us back by a few months, like they're really the sediments, and I don't think Pakistan can ever get back to its original game. But having said that, it is
Okay.
very disappointing that people like Farooq Abdullah, Saifuddin Soz, and a couple of other people, which includes the infant terrible Mufti Mehbooba Mufti, they continue to pamper these elements and they continue to help in deteriorating the situation.
Well, the whole chorus for talks with Pakistan, sorry, there used to be a time when it used to be still in fashion, still in vogue, but that time is gone. If somebody is continuing to parrot that line, that's a separate matter. I don't want to waste our time discussing that. But Sushant Sareen, I want to come to you. Along with what our experts have already talked about, what is also coming to light is that earlier these terrorists may be threatening the locals to help them and living with them and extorting them in that sense. But now some pattern has emerged where they're actually paying some of the locals to help them out. And because that money is pretty handsome, that information is not coming back to the Indian establishment. Do you see this as a new challenge?
Shivani, I think General Dhillon and General KJ Singh also have said this. Look, there is nothing new which is happening in Kashmir. There is probably some changes in how what was happening in the past is happening now. It has happened in the past also that there were people who were being paid to give them supplies. Now, after all, if these guys are not living in populated areas but are living in the far out reaches, in the jungles or on top of hills or in caves, they still need supplies. The only way they can get supplies is if they come into the inhabited areas and they pick up supplies and they go back. So obviously, you have to have a network of informers, and obviously the armed forces or the security forces in Kashmir did get the information that these guys are present in this area, right?
Yes.
That is why they were going out there. And that is also to the credit of the security forces that they were not saying कि अच्छा यार जिस दिन आएंगे उस दिन देख लेंगे क्या करना है.
Absolutely.
Right? They were going forward. So this is what a good army would do. This is what a good security force would do. This is what a very gritty army would do. And I'm sure these guys are not going to let the setback which happened day before yesterday pull them down. Certainly not. But there will be people in Kashmir who will be, who will be attracted by whatever money is coming their way, especially if they think that there is no real cost to be paid for getting
Helping
involved in
them.
that exercise. So that is one. I think the second thing, Shivani, where I will certainly counsel a lot of caution to most people, we are very quick to jump to conclusions that, okay, the Pakistanis are down and out. And I'm glad that you mentioned this, that even though they are down and out, it is precisely when they are that desperate that they want to hit back.
Yeah, they're more dangerous now.
Yeah, because they want to show that, look, don't think that you can just walk over us. Don't think we are going to roll over and play dead. Even if we are bankrupt, even if we are completely finished, even if our country is fraying completely and imploding, but we are still in the fray.
Yes.
We hate you and we are still in the fray. So I think there is a need for us to consciously be constantly alive to the danger and the threat which comes from across the border. And I'll just say one more thing. And I just wonder what the two generals sitting out here make of it. Look, I would be very surprised if the people involved in this particular action from the terrorist side are actually terrorists. I would like to imagine, I suspect that these are Pakistani regulars, probably Pakistan SSG guys, retired maybe, because the kind of fire they have brought, the kind of discipline they have shown, this is not what terrorists do. And I don't know of any terrorists who are that well trained to operate in the way these guys have done. So I think there is a need to watch out for that element of the jihadi Pakistan army, which would be recruited after retirement probably, because that way the Pakistan army and the Pakistani state has plausible deniability that we didn't know, these guys are not on the payrolls anymore. But these are probably Pakistan army regulars, or were Pakistan army regulars, who have infiltrated across the border, because terrorists don't have this kind of
Training.
an ability.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let me take that to Lieutenant General KJ Singh. Sir, you want to respond to what Sushant proposes? And also my question is, and I'm not an expert, I'm an ordinary person, from an ordinary civilian point of view, is there nothing technology-wise that can give us the upper hand so that we don't lose our men at least? Even if an encounter rages on for 5 days, is there no such technology even for such forested areas that can truly give us an edge to the extent that we don't lose our men?
See, Shivani, firstly, Sushant has very eminently brought out issues which need to be taken note of. Complacency should never set in. This feeling that Pakistan is down and out is wrong. You know this country, they said we'll eat grass, but we'll make an atom bomb during
Yes.
Bhutto's time. And they did make one. So we should remain vigilant always. Now, with regard to your question about technology, see, the terrorists choose such areas where they deny us the technological asymmetry. General Dillon also brought out that area is such where normal radars and observation devices will not work effectively, because such devices require a certain amount of field of view, certain amount of wherever there is a foliage and moisture, it degrades. And allow me to tell you this, that the terrorist somehow, because for him also it's life and death, manages to use technology quite effectively. He doesn't have the radio sets and all, but he communicates. He's got his methods. So technologically, to think that we are using drones, we are using other methods, helicopters are up to sea, we would be using dogs, all kinds of devices we would be using. But
Right.
for us to say that there is a silver bullet and panacea for this, no. It's
No, I
good,
didn't mean a silver
hard
bullet,
work.
but I was just wondering if anything exists that can give us an advantage, not so that we can finish an encounter quickly, but at least that our men are safe. But I got your point. I have limited time. I'll just... Yes.
Shivani, I'll say one more thing. See,
Yes.
I have dealt with some operations. I used to stop operations at night. Do not give him unfair advantage. You know, like a responsible channel like yours should say that this encounter is not going continuously. You have to use a stopwatch method.
Okay.
It's not a running time.
Fair enough.
Moment contact takes place, you time. And then moment contact is broken, you stop the clock.
Okay.
Because we are maneuvering.
Right. Major General Meston, you want to respond to what Sushant said? Could it be that the tactic from Pakistan has also shifted? These are not just lowly trained terrorists alone, but highly trained, members of their army or other forces? Could that be the case?
Yeah, my comment, sir. Firstly, let's be very clear. When we say Pakistan, it is the Pakistan Army and the ISI. And therefore, they are capable of doing anything. Their intent and aim is to bleed India at any cost. And they are irrespective of where their economy is going, where their political situation is going. They are not interested in anything, but their agenda is very clear. Now, if their agenda is very clear, obviously they will now look how to target India, and therefore they keep evolving their strategy. Today, your channel itself showed that today they are even started having drones, which can even infiltrate and exfiltrate people, one individual by those drones, and you showed it. That was a good work done by your channel. In fact, I was in that discussion during that time. So anything is possible. Their aim is very clear. Now, coming on to certain other questions, I do agree that firstly, we as a nation cannot allow ourselves to be on lower guard. That is point one. Point two is that as a nation, we need to be united. Look at this operation. The country needs to learn from the Indian Army. We are one people, irrespective of caste, color, religion. Here we had someone from Muslim also community dying. And there are large number of army units. We have people from all religions. So Pakistan is looking to break India. And I remember when I was commanding my division, we read their books. It says India, the cauldron of conflict. They say that India will just collapse on its own because of so many issues, internal issues. So we have to be very clear that our internal issues should be brushed aside
Yes, and we shouldn't let people divide us internally like this, because it only strengthens our enemies. Sir, I'm running out of time. I want to give both Tuhin and Sushant 30 seconds each. Tuhin, I'll ask both of you a political question. Could it not be time to end this for once and for all? You know, it's all good to talk about how much far behind India has left Pakistan, but they continue to bleed us. When are we going to see an end to this problem?
You know, Shivani, between 2006 to 2008, we had a bomb blast, a huge bomb blast every month. Now that is history. These attacks, these terror attacks have reduced. If you go by data, they're probably 25-30% of what they used to be 6 or 7 years ago. But having said that, I think it's a matter of time. Like you said, I mean, things don't get extinguished in a day, but we are very close to it. You know, like I said, despite everything, there could always be newer tactics which they are employing. But I think it's a matter of time before Pakistan itself collapses or Pakistan becomes insignificant even.
All right, Sushant, I have barely 30 seconds. Should we just wait it out and see Pakistan implode, or do you think that we can now increase the costs even further on the back of such, infiltration and attacks?
Shivani, my take is completely different. We have to reconcile ourselves to what I call an endless war. This is not going away. Not even if Pakistan goes away and ceases to exist, that this problem is ending. This problem is going to be there for the next 50 years, 100 years, maybe longer. Do we have the grit to fight it and continue to fight it and defeat it ultimately? It's not ending. So let's not even think that, we have this thing that we need to bring something to a closure.
Okay.
It's not ending. Okay. So just be clear on that. Once you are reconciled to that and you brace yourself for it,
then you can devise your strategy.
Take whatever happens in your stride.
Okay.
There'll be ebbs and flows, but you'll take it in stride.
All right.
But otherwise, don't expect this to end.
I'll leave it at that. I do thank all of our experts for joining us. We'll have to brace for a long haul at least, if at all this fight is ever going to end. As I slip into a very short break, I also want to share with you our tribute to the three brave hearts, the heroes who have laid down their lives for the country. Take a look.
Remember the names Colonel Manpreet Singh, Major Ashish Dhonchak and DSP Humayun Bhat, as they laid down their lives and made supreme sacrifices while protecting the nation. The three fallen heroes of Anantnag have left an indelible mark in the sands of time. Amid a steady stream of mourners, the crowd witnessed Colonel Manpreet Singh's 8-year-old son Kabir and 2-year-old daughter Vani wearing a camouflage uniform, bidding goodbye to their brave father. A second-generation soldier hailing from Ropar, district of Punjab, Colonel Manpreet Singh led the 19 Rashtriya Rifles Battalion and served 17 years of his life with the Indian Army.
आप कैसे देखते हैं उनकी शहादत को, क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं
I have no words to explain. देख, what more can I?
आपने भी कहीं ना कहीं सेना का बैकग्राउंड रहा।
मैं बैकग्राउंड, सारी फैमिली मेरी बैकग्राउंड सेना की रही है।
आप खुद भी
I myself was there in that regiment.
His father also served in the armed forces and passed away the year 2014. A pall of gloom descended Mohali on Wednesday as his family members were informed about the loss of his life, leaving behind his mother, wife and 2 children. His grieving sister was seen tying a rakhi on Colonel Singh's coffin, bidding him adieu.
आपकी तकलीफ को दुनिया महसूस कर रही है। आपने अपना बेटा देश के नाम किया, समर्पित किया। कैसी यादें आप, जबकि आज उनका अंतिम संस्कार भी होना है।
मेरे बेटे की याद तो सदा ही रहणगियां। मेरे पुत ने छुट्टी आया था, आज छुट्टी पहला ही आ गया, लंबी छुट्टी आ गया। मेरा बेटा लंबी छुट्टी करा गया, मेरा बेटा लंबी छुट्टी करा गया, घर आने ते पहला ही आ गया। हाय मेरा बेटा शहीद हो गया, मेरा कर्नल शहीद हो गया।
A resident of Panipat in Haryana, Major Ashish Dhonchak spoke to his family 3 days before he was killed in Anantnag encounter, informing them about being a part of an assignment. The last time he called his family, Major Dhonchak was excited to come for a housewarming ceremony of his new home in Panipat. But the tragic turn of events in Anantnag completely shattered Major Dhonchak's family as they were seen sobbing inconsolably, bringing his mortal remains to their new residence.
बहुत ही अच्छे इंसान थे वो, बहुत ही मतलब मैं उनके पास जाता रहता था और पिछले साल उनको अपने कार्यों की वजह से सेना मेडल भी मिला और उनको मेरी तरफ से सलाम और आज के दिन को श्री
Major Dhonchak was posted in Jammu and Kashmir 2 years ago. Just a month before his tragic death, he won this year's Sena Medal on Independence Day by President Draupadi Murmu. The Major visited his hometown few months ago to attend a wedding. He left behind his wife and a 2-year-old daughter and 3 sisters. Deputy Superintendent Humayun Bhat, a Jammu and Kashmir police officer, was laid to rest on Thursday. Sea of mourners turned up to pay last respects to DSP Bhat, whose mortal remains, draped in a tricolour, arrived at his village in Jammu and Kashmir's Budgam. Amongst the mourners was also his wife, who stood with their 2-month-old daughter in her lap. As India continues to battle Pakistan's cross-border terrorism, the nation won't forgive or forget its fallen soldiers. Bureau Report, CNN News 18.